Hello everybody, and welcome back to another tier list. This time I'm going to be ranking all of the semblances of RWBY. As you can see, I have a different tier list open than last time. This one's updated with Volume 9 stuff. I actually think it has less characters than the other one, or maybe it's the same amount. I think that there are a few characters that are present in the other one that aren't present here. Maybe I'm mistaken. I feel like there should be more characters on this list. It only has the main series characters. It doesn't have anything from the novels. It doesn't have the crossover, anything like that. This is just the main volumes 1 through 9. So I guess I'm going to have to sort of generally speak about the semblances that are in the supplemental material after the fact. And hopefully hopefully this time the tier list won't be cut off. At least last time it was just Wiglet and Wugtrio, and it didn't really matter because they shouldn't exist anyway, and they should have been cut off during development. Anyway, so this is Semblance time. There are definitely going to be some choices on this list. Personally, I think semblances are probably the coolest form of superpower in media. I'm biased, obviously, because RWBY's my favorite series, but there's just something that's really cool about the way that they're kind of restricted. Like, I can't remember if it was Miles or Carrie, but during a Reddit AMA, one of the two, I think it was Carrie, they were asked, what is the upper limits to what a semblance can be? And they were like, we'll let you know whenever we find it. And seeing characters from the DC world be adapted into RWBY through the original comic run or through the movie, and their powers have to be adapted into semblances, is really, really cool. And it's really what inspired the semblances behind RWBY Grim Force, which is the little RWBY Ben 10 crossover fanfiction that I write, that I've been slacking on within recent times, but I'll eventually get back to it. Anyway, they're restricted with each person, but they're also broken in a weird way. It's a very weird thing of being restricted but also being OP. Oh, this list is kind of in a weird order, but we'll make it work. Okay, so first off, we have RWBY, who has Petal Burst, which is a weird form of super speed because it's not really super speed. It's a density shifting thing, because of the way that her body breaks itself down into the petal form to allow her to move around the way that it does. It's not really a traditional super speed, and that's what Harriet points out in Volume 7, and then Penny goes on to explain it in Volume 8. It's a very unique take on super speed, which is another thing I really like about semblances, is that they're typically not just... whenever they do a more basic superpower, they're typically not just that. There's typically something else to it. Not always. Like Harriet and Barry, both of their super speeds are just super speed and also involve yellow lightning, but not RWBY's. And that puts it pretty high up on the list. It puts it in the A tier. It's such a bizarre concept, but it does work, and I really like it. As for Weiss, so I'm not even going to bother putting Willow and Winter on the list because it's the same semblance. I'm going to go for B. I think conceptually it's cooler than Petal Burst, but they don't do as much with it as I would like, mainly because We never get to see, like, summons be imbued with dust. I think that would be pretty cool, and we don't really get to see that. Time dilation hasn't really existed for a while. I don't know if the fight against the Curious Cat in Volume 9's finale counts as time dilation or not. But it might. It might. But we haven't definitively seen it since Volume 3. And even then, most people think that we didn't see it since Volume 2. People forget that Weiss briefly used it during the battle for Beacon. So there's a lot that Glyphs could be doing that they're kind of just not. And that's why it's in B tier. But it's still a really cool semblance. And the ability to summon enemies that you've killed is also very fun. Blake. Shadow clones are cool, but same thing. There's a lot of... I feel like there's more potential there that's not being tapped, or that they have tapped but haven't continued to do so. Like, Gravity Dust forms sort of a black hole whenever she uses a clone imbued with that, and I think that's only happened in Volume 2. That could stand to happen again. Yang. This is a good one. This is going into A tier. This is super strength done properly. So much better than Forearms. It also helps that Yang is a better character than Ben. So, I hope y'all can't hear the thunder, but you probably can. Yang Semblance is the ability to take damage and then bring it back out at her enemy by empowering herself with it. It's damage empowerment. It is basically the embodiment of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it's a good strength. It's a good physical strength ability, as opposed to, look at me, I punch, and that's it. And, I mean, Yang even makes regular punches interesting because she punches with bullets, as opposed to just regular punching. So, Yang is how you do physical strength power and do it in an interesting way. Take notes, Ben 10. Jean. A. Aura Amp is busted. The ability to amplify other people's aura with his own, and the fact that he already has high aura reserves to begin with. Very overpowered semblance, and it not only heals people faster, it doesn't heal people itself, it heals people faster because aura is what does the healing. He's just amplifying that. But it also amplifies the power, as seen with Ren and Weiss. I do wish we got to see more of that, but also, there's a small little detail in Volume 7 where, when they're training, Jean uses it on himself. He, like Thanos, I use the stones to destroy the stones. That's what Jean does. He aura amps himself with aura amp. And I don't know how that works, but it's interesting that it does. Ozpin, we don't know if Oz had a semblance. He had magic, though. Salem doesn't have a semblance. She just has magic. Crow, I'm sorry, my boy. Why is there a G tier? Why is there a G tier? Can I just... Yeah. Just delete that row. We don't need a G tier. F tier is the bottom tier. There's usually not even an E tier. Usually it's just D tier. Sorry, my boy. You're... Sad to say, you're a bad luck charm. Man? No. Sorry. I don't need to elaborate. We know. Cinder. B tier. That's a pretty good semblance. Ability to superheat objects just with her touch, as opposed to just doing a traditional, like, being able to control any fire, which she can do with Dust or her semblance. Not her semblance, her maiden power, rather. But Just Scorching Caress on its own, pretty fun. I don't like how seductive the name sounds. But anyway. Roman never bothered to unlock his semblance. Neo. Don't you right-click. Neo, Esther. This is my favorite semblance. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. I will say, I really wish we got a reason. I talked about this in a few videos already, but I really, really wish that we got like a proper reason why Neo's semblance evolved the way that it did, or how. Because I like the development. I like the idea that Neo could create illusions that can produce sounds of their own and is able to speak through them. The illusions emulating the personality of whoever it is that's talking while saying basically what Neo is thinking. It's a really, really cool idea, but they didn't tell us what was the catalyst for Neo's semblance evolving. It just did, even though there's 2 instances where the characters are like, how did this happen? Good question. Guess we'll never know. Emerald. Emerald. This is another busted semblance. A tier. Again with illusions. The line between Emerald and Neo's is blurry, but basically what it is, and I'm actually the reason that we know this information, because I asked this during the AMA. After Roman Holiday came out, this was the Roman Holiday AMA, after all, I was like, the lines are a little bit blurry between overactive imagination and hallucinations, so what's the difference here? And the difference is that emeralds are not physically there. Neo basically is manifesting stuff into existence that can interact with the physical world. And Emerald doesn't do that. Emeralds is just, it changes your perception. But we also know Neo's illusions are also far more powerful. Neo is able to create multiple different objects and people, not even just in the show. That's something that she did in the novel, so that didn't come out of nowhere. The auditory thing, that's new. The auditory thing, the fact that they're acting almost autonomously, that was new. But hers are just far more powerful than Emerald's, and that's a pretty big, pretty decent reason that I'm saying that overactive imagination I like more than hallucinations. Mercury, if there's a semblance that can take semblances away, there's got to be a semblance that can bring them back. And I really want to know what Mercury's semblance was. Speaking of, I'm going to say Marcus Black's semblance to negate or take away semblances or whatever. It's going to go in, that would be in C tier. If he was on this list, which I don't see his corpse on this list, it would be in C tier because we don't understand it. It's just, when I unlocked my semblance, he took it with his. It's like we don't have an explanation on what that entails exactly. So we don't really know. We have no idea. I don't know if it stunts the aura to prevent the semblance. I don't know if it's absorbing the semblance and now he can use it himself. I had no idea because it's never been elaborated upon beyond that. So it's a cool idea, but because we don't really know the logistics of it, it would only go into the middle. As for Tyrion, Aura Disruption is pretty cool. It's not as cool as Aura Amp, but it's a pretty fun concept. And it also works as a pretty fun counter to make Tyrion be this sort of like antithesis to Jon, which ties into Tyrion being so interested in Jon back in Volume 4. Watts never learned of semblance, never bothered with it. Hazel, I'm gonna put you into E tier. It's not. I don't think it's as bad as Misfortune. I don't think anything is as bad as Misfortune, but Okay, numbing agent, I get it. If you don't feel pain, then you're not gonna stagger, you're not gonna falter. It's just also if you don't feel pain, you don't know when to quit. So yeah, it's cool that you can just spin and blast your elemental stuff everywhere because now you can inject yourself with dust. That's cool. But also it's part of what got you killed, my dude, because you just every single dust type in you to fight Salem, and it ran down your aura, and aura's the only reason everyone else managed to make it out of that alive. It's got a huge downside, is basically my thing. Penny, we never learned where hers was. Winter, I said, it's where Weiss is. Pyrrha, polarity, pretty good, but it's going into C tier because it's kind of just magnetism. This is an instance of them having. I mean, I guess magnetism's not really that much of a used power. I mean, how many characters can you think of that actually have magnetism? Magneto, Lodestar. I can't even think of a DC example. So Magneto, Lodestar, and Pyrrha. But it is just magnetism. So, it doesn't really have like a... It has a cool name because it's polarity, but there's not really a... There's not... You get it. It's not got any like unique aspect to it. It's just magnetism. Nora, high voltage. That's a pretty good one. So electricity, very common power. Very, very common power. Flash, Storm, I guess technically Bedlam, Thor. How many Ben 10 aliens? Electricity is a very common superpower. Hey, think about just Pikachu. Electric's basically the fourth starter type of Pokemon. But it's interesting because she doesn't actually generate her own electricity. She's just made stronger whenever electricity courses through her veins. So it's an interesting take on electricity. So it gets to go up higher. Tranquility. I'm going to put you in A tier. Now, Tranquility being so high. I mean, emotion negation is OP in the world of RWBY, where it's like, oh, we're feeling a bit down. Okay. Now there's no Grim. You don't have to worry about Grim. It's OP. But honestly, vibe check is where it's at. The fact that Ren can now read emotions, that's where it's at. I absolutely love that. Oscar, don't know a semblance. I imagine Oscar's probably not going to have a semblance. I imagine he's just going to use magic. Ironwood. Okay. So let's talk about metal, shall we? Let's talk about metal. So, I don't remember if I covered this in the criticisms video or not. But my issue with metal is that we know it exists. If you watch 7 and 8, if you watch volume 7 and 8, and you aren't informed about what his semblance does, if you have no idea that he even has a semblance, the story flows naturally. The issue is that we know metal exists, but the show itself never delved into it. We only know it exists because of RTX. The fact that they explained it in a live stream Q&A session that not everyone was present for, and not every single person that watches the show is going to do a dive to look into that, leaves it very open-ended as to how exactly it works, because we don't know when Ironwood stops and when metal begins. The pretty common theory is that whenever his eyes kind of go dead, and then he's got the more monotone voice. That is what is whenever metal is active, but we don't know that. And also, whenever he's not acting on metal, he's still going for this goal, which means that's still the thing that he's desiring to do. So it's a very good idea. I love the concept of metal. It goes into D tier because it's not done well, but I like the concept more than I do pain negation or bad things happen because I exist. Well, I mean, I guess I do have to give Crow the benefit of the doubt, I suppose, because as he seems to have a bit more control over it than what he thinks, but it hasn't been elaborated on, so I can really only go off of, yeah, I exist, so bad things happen. Adam. Moonslice is cool, but it's detracted from the fact that it's Adam. It's basically Yang's semblance, but it's detracted because it's Adam. So sorry. Grudge. Nah, not there. Grudge is mid. You do better when things are going bad for people around you. It's good conceptually, but we never saw it in action, so can't really speak to what exactly that'd be like. Ilya, I think it's actually confirmed that Ilya doesn't know her semblance yet. It's not that we haven't seen it. I think Ilya, in some official media, it's confirmed Ilya doesn't have a semblance yet. Banesaw, no idea. Sun, it's in the same vein as Blake. I don't think that Sun's clones have as much potential as Blake's do. I think we've seen the full potential of Sun's clones. But because they offer a very similar purpose, same tier. Belladonna's, we don't know their semblances. Corsic and Fennec, don't know theirs. Raven. That's a pretty top tier semblance. That is an incredibly top tier semblance. So you form an emotional bond with someone, and then at any given point you could just slice open reality and walk through the portal, and now you're at that person. Do you know how much money you would save on travel fees if you could do that? I mean, you'd have to text them first. I was almost about to grab my phone for the visual effect. That's what I'm recording on. I can't do it. Just, hey, can I come over? Sure. Okay. It's a good semblance. It's a very good idea, and it also seems like once the bond is there. Well, no. I was about to say it seems like once the bond is there, it's not broken, but I think it's more so a sign of just how complex of a character Raven actually is. So many people will make Raven out to be this very one-note character, and it's like, she's really not. Raven does have a lot of facets to her character. She's cowardly despite the fact that she's powerful. She has a care for the people in her life, but she thinks that is a weakness, even though it is literally what powers her semblance. So I think the fact that she still has those portals to Crow, Yang, and Tai shows that she still cares about them. And also, we know that she genuinely cared about Vernal because she had a portal to Vernal and had a portal to Summer. And she opened the portal to get to her in the first place that night. And then opened a portal to what was probably Crow. Crow knows something. He knows something. Anyway, it's a good semblance. Vernal, we don't know her semblance. Jacques, his semblance is just being the worst. Whitley doesn't have his unlocked yet. Willow, same thing as Weiss. Though, I mean, if Willow and Whitley get their... Can they summon the Hound? Can they summon the Hound? This is a genuine question. Klein doesn't have a semblance. Maria preflexes. This is Spidey sense. It goes into A tier. So many of these are going to be A tier, by the way. A tier. I only have one S tier. I thought I had more than that. It's the Spidey sense. I can sense things before they happen. That's what makes her such a perfect counter to Neo, and why they had that be the fight in Volume 8. The only fight where Neo's aura has ever broken is her fight against Maria. Penny is the one that made it happen. She's the one that broke the aura because she got the final blow in, but this is after Neo was already fighting Maria. Maria was taking Neo's aura down a lot. Neo's fighting style very much depends on being unpredictable, being able to be flexible with what her enemy is doing and adapt to that and make very quick split-second decisions. Which Maria's ability to sort of predict that and sense what's going to happen just counters so perfectly, and that's why that's one of my favorite fight scenes. Pietro doesn't have a semblance as far as we know. Robin, truth detection. I'm going to put it in B tier because it's very useful, but it is kind of one note. I do love the little detail that they show Ironwood as telling the truth in the broadcast, and then they cut to just Ironwood's face whenever he's telling the lie so that Robin's semblance doesn't show it. It's like, well, if he's telling the truth the rest of the time. It's just a very fun attention to detail that's like plot important that deals with this pretty good semblance, but it is kind of one note. Harriet's super speed, see, same thing with Pyrrha. It's kind of just super speed. So, Clover, good luck. I'll put it in B. I was going to put it a little higher, but it is kind of just good luck. But it's a lot better to have than bad luck. It's better to be unlucky and bad than to be lucky it's better to be lucky and bad than to be unlucky and good. I almost said that way wrong. That's PM7's thing. Wow, I said the exact opposite thing. Man, anyway. Vine semblance. Aura vines, they're pretty cool, but not anything too special. It really didn't do anything special until he died. Sorry. Sorry. Stay or freeze or whatever it's called, A tier. Teetering on S tier. This is an OP semblance, but we also know that it has its limits. It's had its limits shown. It doesn't seem like he can focus in two different directions. He's able to do a group, but they have to all be in the same place. He's never done stay at the same time as stay. You feel me? We don't know if he can do that. Aura roots, same thing is fine. They're cool, but again, kind of one note. Invisibility. I'll put it in B tier because it's an invisibility field. Most of the time when we see invisibility in characters, it's just themselves, or they can touch someone and make them invisible. It's not often, as far as I can think of, that you have a full invisibility field. Maybe Invisible Woman can do it, I'm not entirely sure. No, Violet can do it in The Incredibles, and then May can do it here. Very, very good semblance. Pocket dimensions, or deep pockets, as it would have been called if Roman had it, like he was supposed to originally. S tier. Dude. I'll see so many reactors watch Volume 7 and Fee's semblance will be shown, and they just kind of... like, why aren't you being like... What, he does what? She could do what? That semblance is crazy looking, and there were people who will watch that scene and just be like, react, damn it! That's what you're here to do! And give it the appropriate reaction. Of this entire desk can literally fit in my hand. And so can the rest of the room. Come on. Moving would be so much easier. I just moved last year. It was not a fun experience. It would have been so much easier without Semblance. We don't know Joanna's Semblance. We don't know Cordo's Semblance. We don't know Amber's Semblance. Don't know Freya's Semblance. Neptune has Water Affinity, I believe it's called. Or Aqua Affinity. No, that's the Minecraft thing. Aqua Affinity's Minecraft. I forget what he calls it. Maybe it's just Water Affinity. I don't remember. When Neptune touches a body of water, he's able to manipulate it. And that's where his fear of water stems from, is accidentally getting a bubble of water surrounding his head. And his brother Juniper had to evaporate it with his semblance. All of the Basiliuses have aquatic semblances, by the way. Similar to the Shnees, it's a genetic thing, but there's a bit more variety with the Basiliuses. Since we haven't seen it be used yet, I'm just going to put it in C tier because we don't know how it works quite yet. It hasn't been used in the novels, and it hasn't been used in the show proper either. Glinda is... It's telekinesis... Nah, I'll put it in B. It's telekinesis, but it's also, like, very OP telekinesis. She does things with that semblance that just don't make sense. Like, how are you putting a building back together? Well, I mean, I guess she didn't. No, she put the buildings back together in Volume 2. Volume 3 is where she failed, but she put them back together in Volume 2, and it doesn't make sense, because once the structure loses its integrity, you're not going to be able to just, oh, it fixed. No, there's something else going on there. That's why this is the one example where everyone will be like, no, this is magic. It's not just a semblance or dust. It's outright magic. That's why people say it about Glinda. Don't know Oobleck's semblance. Don't know his wise semblance. Maybe it's being immune to fire. I don't know. Don't know Port's semblance. Don't know Ty's semblance. We really don't know much of anything about Ty, to be honest with you. Don't know Leo. Don't know Summer. Velvet, S tier semblance. So the novel describes it as Velvet can fight like a lot of people. Nobody fights like Velvet. And that's true. Velvet is capable of mimicking any fighting style that she watches people do. This is a way to, reuse animation that's already made. But it works. And also, we know in the novel that Velvet can adapt very easily using this semblance. She's able to combine different fighting styles that she's witnessed and also utilize them with different weapons than what they're normally equipped with. So that's where Coco came up with that description. Velvet fights like other people. Nobody fights like Velvet. Coco's semblance is the ability to amplify dust. I'm gonna say C. It's very good, but I feel like it's also kind of... I don't know how to word this. This is a situation where if you run out of dust, your semblance also isn't going to work out for you. I mean, Coco is also pretty good at, like, fighting without dust, fighting up close and personal, but most of the time, if you run out of dust, you have your semblance to fall back on. Not in this instance. I'll move it up to B. I feel bad putting it in C. I'll move it up to B. Okay. Fox has telepathy. This one's going to go in B tier as well. So it is kind of just well, no, I wouldn't say it's basic telepathy. Fox is able to create a network in his head, essentially, to communicate with other people, and they can communicate back to him. And it's called TeamSpeak. The semblance is telepathy, but that application is called TeamSpeak. It's what makes Team Coffee so formidable. Because they're able to plan silently. They speak to each other in here as the fight is going on, which prevents them from calling out, hey, get that one, hey, do this move this time, checkmate. it prevents that and the enemy being like, ha ha, I heard what you were going to do, and now I'm going to prevent it. Nah, you can't do that with Team Coffee. Because of Fox. Yatsuhashi has memory wiping, which I'm also going to put into B tier. It's pretty OP. It's pretty broken. But he also refuses to use it because of that. But it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. It's to the point that Yatsu is one of the people that has a body count. How many of these characters have killed somebody? Adam, Tyrion, Ironwood, Cinder, Blake and Yang, Jean, Oscar, and Yatsuhashi. Why is one of them a 15-year-old? Anyway. He put Jax in a vegetative state in the novel, by the way. That's what I mean. Jax is brain dead, which is basically dead. Medically, you are dead if you are brain dead. Don't know any of Team Cardinal semblances. Flint semblance, I'm going to say, is C tier, because it doesn't seem like it's as useful as the Blake or Sun clones. It seems like the clones just mimic whatever the original Flint is doing, as opposed to the Blake and Sun clones, which they don't really act independently, but they do more than just what the original one's doing to aid what the original is doing, as opposed to where it seems like Flints are all just copying him. Neon. Apparently her semblance is not the rainbow thing. We don't know where the rainbow trail comes from. We don't know her semblance. Don't know Ciel. Don't know Junior. Don't know either of the Malachites. Don't know Lisa Lavender. Talk's semblance is mid. Because it's good for the 60 seconds. But then after that, you're vulnerable for however long it takes Aura to recharge. But she makes herself invulnerable for a full 60 seconds. And then her aura breaks. So it's good for a minute, I guess. Don't know Tucson, don't know Shopkeep. Scarlet, kind of mid. Scarlet's semblance is gliding, but it seems like it only happens if he's already in a high place. So it's not like he can just fly. No, he has to already be in a high place and then glide to a lower place. That's what it's portrayed as in the fight with Team Indigo, and that's what it's portrayed as in the novel. Don't know Sages because we don't know anything about Sage at all. Don't know anything from Team Auburn. Don't know anything from Team Bronze. Team Indigo, on the other hand, Octavia's is sand skating, which I'm gonna have to put in. I'm putting it in D tier. Because it's so specific. She's only capable of moving super quickly on sand, and that's very useful in Vacuo, where there's sand. It's not really useful anywhere else. So I have to deduct points because of that. I have to deduct points. Sorry, I have to. Don't know D and Dudley semblances. Don't know Little Miss. Don't know any of those three. Don't know that one. Where's the next semblance? Rhodes is the next semblance. Who is that? Who is that dude? Who is that? Oh, that's one of the drunken guys. I don't know why he's on here. I think this is actually our last semblance that we have an image for. Wherever you went. Where did you go? Rhodes. Metal skin, C tier. It's okay. It's okay. They're like discount Kevin Levin, essentially. So in terms of other character semblances, Roman Holiday has a character named Chameleon, whose semblance is basically like Ilias' Faunus trait. She's able to change her skin color. That's probably C tier. That's pretty mid. Huntsman's Children. Let's see if I can remember these ones on my own. One of them just has Ren's semblance, which I would say gets to go in B tier because it's the same. But because it's the same, I'm just putting it in B tier because it's kind of a copy. One of them is that they can be invisible, but only when is it invisible to Grim? No. One of them calms you down, which is tranquility, basically, which is the one I just said. And then another one is invisible, but only when you close your eyes. So, also that's C tier, because that's Maze, but worse. There's connecting auras to make people more powerful. That's probably A tier. And then there's always being led to where you need to be, which I would say is A tier as well, because that's a pretty broken one. Can I remember Team Sapphires? So Arastra has Equilibrium, where she can use dust. She can use different dust effects on different targets. A positive effect on one target, a negative effect on another target for the recoil. Typically, it's herself. Typically, herself is the one that does the recoil. I don't fully understand it because I haven't fully caught up with Grim Campaign yet. But I would say conceptually that's a B. It could be an A. Asher has flashes of light that can disorient people, which are very similar to the Silver Eyes. I'd say C tier. It's like the Silver Eyes, but not as cool. Pykewright has Fate's Hand, I think it's called, where it's like, oh, I'll just leave it up to chance, which I don't know how that would work in the show proper. But it works on a D&D setting. I don't know how that would work in the show proper. But I feel like that's D tier. Because that could go very wrong. It could go very right, but it could also go very wrong. Which is upsetting because Pykewright is my favorite character from that one. And then there's Berserker Rage or whatever it's called for Phoenix Nemean. That I would say is C tier, mid. I don't remember much of the other semblances from that. Oh, there's one dude that makes smoke, which is a member of Team Smoke. It's like, D tier, mid. Let's see. In the novels, Carmine has the ability to use telekinesis as well, but just on smaller objects, which is very useful in the desert, again, because sand is just a bunch of small objects. So she almost suffocated Coco in the sand with that. It's a pretty decent one. I would say B tier. It's the same as Glinda's, in that it is kind of just telekinesis, but it has a unique aspect to it. Bertilac has the ability to create like heat waves, which I would say is C tier. That's kind of mid. Oh god. Ed and Gus. Okay, so Gus is the kid. Gus amplifies emotions, opposite Ren. And that's bad. That's bad because it amplifies all emotions, including the negative ones. E tier, because that's not good to have. I'm sorry. You are a hazard. I'm sorry. And then as for Ed negates semblances, which I would put in A or B tier, because that's a pretty good one. The only issue is that he's not all there. I think Yatsu actually brought some of his cognitive self back, which is another factor in Yatsu's semblance, that he can actually do the reverse of his semblance. And he had more control over his semblance then. Jax has mind control, which I would put into B tier because it's powerful, but it's also kind of basic. And then Jillian has aura transferal, kind of. She has aura absorption, I think is a better way to put it. She can leech aura off of other people. This is why their mother died in childbirth, because her aura was and semblance were both unlocked prior to her coming out. Yeah. Their mother ended up dying in childbirth because of that. And she had to be kept away from Jax while he was trying to gain his aura back, otherwise he would have been killed too. I would say that that's A tier though, because of the fact that she's able to use that to then power up Jax like she's a battery. There are a few other ones in that. Rumpel turns things to gold. I would say that that's B or C tier. There's lag, which is just like a video game lag. I'd say B tier. There's one that just is flatulence, that goes into E or F tier. I don't remember who that one was. And then there's one that like sticks things together, which is probably D tier. Not all semblances are winners, obviously. There's the Justice League. Clark's semblance is the ability to mimic the powers of dust whenever he's in sunlight. And I think that that's a pretty good adaptation of Clark's Superman powers. I put that into A tier. Batman has his detective vision from the Arkham games. That's A tier, possibly S tier for the reference alone. Diana's is weird. I don't fully comprehend it. So she basically summons her gear to allow her to utilize her powers. I don't fully get it. So like she summons her gauntlets to get stronger. No, she summons her gauntlets to fly. She summons the lasso to get stronger. I don't fully get that one. I don't fully comprehend Wonder Woman's. In the comic or the movie, I don't fully get it. I would say that that's probably C tier just because I don't understand it. Aquaman's semblance in the comic is telepathy. And it ties into the fact that Arthur is capable of manipulating things that aren't just aquatic life. So he's able to manipulate more than just sea life. But in terms of what differentiates it from Fox's is that I don't think he actually communicates with other people through it. I think he just communicates with animal life. But he is able to sort of determine people's emotions and motives just by being around them. I'd say B tier. As much as I would like my favorite superhero to have a better semblance, B tier. Flash is just super speed. I would say C tier, alongside Harry in both the movie and the comic. Vixen's semblance is animal mimicry, and I think that goes into A tier. That's pretty fun. I don't really get what Cyborg's thing is supposed to be in the comic. He said his semblance was technology, but I don't understand what that meant, and it's not elaborated upon. So my assumption was he doesn't actually have a semblance. He's just good with tech because he's a cyborg. The movie, he seems to have some sort of electrical power, which C tier. It's not as cool as High Voltage. Jessica. So I don't know what her semblance in the comic was supposed to be. It was said that it amplified her Green Lantern abilities, but it's not elaborated upon. In the movie, It's that she's able to get to the truth of things. And then with the ring, she's still able to summon like the typical Green Lantern hard light constructs. But it's a lot better in the movie. I think True Sight would probably go to A tier, and then the other one doesn't go anywhere because they don't really explain it. Jesse Quick just has a speed semblance too. Probably even D tier because she doesn't have the electricity like the other two do. Apparently in the new crossover, because the worlds of Remnant and DC are combining in the new crossover comic, even though they're on the DC side of things, semblances are being transferred over to them. And apparently Arkham Asylum's patients have the ability to control Grimm with their semblances, like what Two-Face was doing, apparently. And Joker's semblance allows him to merge with Grimm. And he merged with the Nukkalavi. I don't know how to feel about either of those two things, mainly because I haven't read those comics, because the Team RWBY designs are absolutely garbage. So I'm not even going to voice an opinion on those things. Not even going to. Team Briar from the new video game Arrowfell. So Bianca, S tier. Bianca's is S tier. So my S tier has physical appearance mimicry, fighting style mimicry, and now semblance mimicry, because Bianca is capable of imitating the semblances of her friends. She does it in the video game. It's very, very interesting. I really like it. And I love mimicry powers. Mimicry powers are just really cool. Roan, I really don't get it. It just seems like she just amplifies fire. So like Coco, but specifically fire. So C or D tier. Ivy has portals kind of like Raven. I'd actually put this in A tier, teetering on S tier, because her portals can actually open up in different places simultaneously. So she puts her hand through a portal, and if she has multiple portals open up, her hand is now in multiple places. It's only able to do the one thing. It's not able to, each one isn't able to act independently. They're all able to just, so they're all just doing like that. But that's basically how that works, and it's very, very overpowered if used in the right way. So that's either A or S. And then Ruda swims through the ground. It's useful. I'll give it that. B tier. This is kind of weird though. Ow. Braun Thornmane is supposed to have a semblance, but we don't know what it is. So, whatever. And Hanlon Fifestone has the ability to absorb fear and then put it into these little Pokeballs. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's B tier. Possibly A tier. Am I missing any semblances? Before I do this and realize that I've missed one, which is not the first time that's happened. Y'all remember the RWBY character tier list where I didn't have some of these characters, and then there were ones that I forgot. I'm gonna do some thinking before I decide that I've got enough. Do some thinking. No, I can't think of any more. I think that's everybody. Alright, so all that being said, there's the Semblance tier list. The next one's going to be weapons. So that's fun. I guess I could do a few little bonus ones here real quick. I'll toss this one on as a bonus. The cat, it's not a semblance, but the cat and their ability to force ascension, their ability to alter people's emotions, and even just change what they're supposed to do without even sending them to the blacksmith. Yeah, pretty powerful one. Now the blacksmith, I don't know if... So the blacksmith is the tree and has the ability of creation, essentially. So I guess... Same tier. They're not technically semblances, but they are powers. Red Prince doesn't have powers. I guess Jinxie has disguising objects, which is not... It's mid. Little and Somewhat don't have powers. I don't know why Juniper's not here. Juniper doesn't have powers anyway. Paper Pleasers and the Genial Gems, they have creation as well. I guess B tier, I guess. It's not a semblance, but Herbalist doesn't have a semblance. He's just good with weed. That we don't know for the other two. We don't know for the siblings. And then, oh, sorry, Hound. Sorry, my dude. I guess if we're counting other powers, I guess we should count these. Yeah, y'all have good creation abilities. You're good with knowledge. You're also good with creation. It's not a semblance, but it's a superpower they have, and that's what I'm going off of here, I guess. That's the tier list. Do all of that YouTube algorithm stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm getting the Patreon together, slowly but surely. Link to the Discord. If you want a more direct ability to contact me, is also in the description. And you know what, just for fun, since I mentioned it earlier, I'll leave a link to the archive of our own entries for RWBY Grim Force, the Ben 10 crossover that I'm working on, and in fact, I'll link the other two things I have on archive as well, which are RWBY Witch Hunt and a non-RWBY related project, which is Justice League Aftermath, a new fanfiction that I've just started as well. So, yeah, all that good stuff. And I will see you when I see you.